Welcome back, boys and girls. It's time for another edition of Snack Time with a Dollop of Read Aloud. We're going to continue reading 26 Fairmount Avenue by Tomie DePalo, which of course I can share with you through the generosity of Penguin Random House Publishing as well as J.P. Putnam and Son Books. Now, when we were last reading 26 Fairmount Avenue, we realized just how determined Tomie was, not only to become an artist, but also to do something that he set his mind to. Tomie really wanted to learn how to read, so much so that being told that he wasn't going to do it right away on the first day of school was unacceptable to him. And I heard some of your responses of things that you were determined to do, like overcoming a fear or trying something new. And I have to tell you, I'm very proud of your bravery. Now, today is an extra special read aloud because we're going to read not one, but two chapters. We're going to read chapter 6 and chapter 7 because they just fit together so well that I thought it would kind of be silly to break it up. Plus, I'm not going to see you for a couple of days. You'll have to wait for Monday for the next installment. So I figured I'll give you a little extra. And don't forget, when we're done with Read Aloud today, if you can, join into our class share session, kind of like what we would do on a regular Friday anyways, where we would sit together and we would share about what we're hoping to do over the weekend. And we're going to do it this time, though, instead of in our classroom, we're going to do it through Google Meet. And I sent the link home, or I put the link on our Google Classroom page, and I put our link on our Class Dojo page. So if you're allowed to, and you can, that's going to be around 11. So right after our snack time with a dollop of Read Aloud, okay? So now, that being said, a lot of information, I know, but we're going to get ready to read. Here we go. Chapter 6. Now it was time to start the backyard project. The first thing we had to do was burn off all the stuff that was growing there. It was a Saturday, so Buddy and I weren't at school, and our friends and our neighbors all came to help. Carol Crane came too. It was a sunny day with no wind blowing. That was very important, my dad told us. Why? I asked. Well, if it's windy, the fire could spread and the house might burn down. I sure didn't want that to happen. Okay, my dad said, let's begin. All right, kids, my mom said, stand back. All the way back. My dad, Mr. Tony Nessie, Mr. Johnny Papalo, Mr. Crane, and a bunch of other people stood around all three sides of the field with old brooms, buckets of water, and wet burlap bags. I wonder why they need buckets of water and wet burlap bags. What's that going to do? Or what's that going to prevent? My mom stood there holding a hose attached to one water faucet that worked. Everyone was ready. Here's what's going on. I'll show you a little bit ahead of time so that you can kind of get a picture in your mind when the action starts. Dun, dun, dun. They lit the fire at the edges, and it blazed right up. I love that word, blazed. You can almost see the fire flickering. It blazed right up. They wet their brooms and put out the flames around the outside of the circle. They did such a good job keeping the flames low that the whole fire went out. Try again, Joe, someone called to my dad. This time he lit the fire in the middle, and it caught, and it burned bright, and it burned strong. Everyone shouted, hooray! But then the smoke started to get in people's eyes. They ran from the edge. Suddenly, the fire was really big. Everyone was shouting and banging the flames with wet brooms and burlap bags. That's where those wet brooms and burlap bags came in. They were trying to stop the fire from getting too big or too wild or out of control. Brooms caught the fire. Burlap bags caught the fire. The smoke got thicker. Quick, Floss, my dad shouted. The hose! Use the hose! Buddy, turn on the faucet, Mom shouted. Water streamed out of the hose. Wet down the house, Uncle Charles yelled. My mom did. Put out the flames, Mrs. Florence Nessie shouted. My mom aimed the hose at the fire. I'll show you the picture one more time. Okay, there they are trying to beat out the fire. And there is Mrs. DiPaolo getting ready to turn the hose on. They look kind of worried, don't they? She kept squirting water all over the place until the fire was out. What a mess. The weeds and grasses were black and smoking. So were the people. Everyone had black, sooty faces and smoky clothes. And everyone, except my mom, was soaking wet. Look at what you've done to us, Mr. Tony Nessie complained. Well, I saved the house, didn't I? Mom said, laughing. She sure did, and I was glad. Can you imagine having to start over all over again? No, thank you. Here's Mom and all of their friends covered in soot and soaked to the bone. With the backyard all burned down, my dad hired an old Italian man who had a horse and a plow. It took a few days for the man to plow the backyard. It was fun to watch. Rocks kept popping up and my dad saved them so he could use them later to build the front or the wall in the front of the house. After the yard was plowed, the old man attached a contraption made out of chains to the horse where the plow had been. He and the horse pulled the contraption along the ground to make it smooth and flat. Back and forth they went, back and forth. It looked pretty good until the next day. All right, so there's just a silhouette of the man pulling the plow. And then eventually he went back with something that was flatter. If you've ever seen them kind of prep baseball fields and they have that kind of, it actually is the same thing. It's a bunch of chains attached to like two pieces of maybe wood or metal, and they drag it across to make sure that the clay is nice and flat when you're running. It's the same idea. So now Tomie said something a little ominous, right? It's leading in. It's a foreshadow. It's leading into what's going to happen next. The yard looked pretty good until the next day. Thinking back, what's been going on a lot with the yard at this new house? What's been happening? They've been getting a lot of something. I wonder if that's what's going to happen next. So take a second and think, and I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think is going to happen next at Tomie's house? I think you might be right. I think something's going to happen, probably weather related. Here we go. Chapter 7. That night, it began to rain. No, not rain. It began to pour. And it was still pouring the next morning. The radio said it was a nor'easter. And the streets were full of water. A nor'easter is a really strong, really windy, really wet storm. And that morning, my mom drove my dad to work and then came home to drive Buddy, Carol Crane, and some of the other kids to school. I went with her. I didn't go to school until the afternoon, so after we dropped everyone off, Mom and I drove up Fairmount Avenue. The street looked like a huge river. The street flooded, guys. Muddy water was rushing down it. Mom stopped the car at the corner. She was afraid. She didn't dare drive up that street because she saw it was a sea of mud. We'll get stuck for sure, she said. We looked up towards 26 Fairmount Avenue. What used to be the newly plowed backyard was roaring down into two muddy streams on either side of the house. I hope the inside will be all right, she whispered. We could take off our shoes and go see, Mom, I suggested. Oh, I don't think so, Tomie. Your father will just have to check it when he gets home from work. So this is what happened to all of their hard work in the backyard. That is all of the dirt washing away with the rainwater. I was disappointed. I thought it would be fun to squish through all the muddy water. That night when my dad got home, he told us everything was fine. A little bit of muddy water went into the cellar, but it'll be easy to clean up, Dad said. But the backyard, oh my, that's a different story. And the street, what a mess. The city is going to have to redo the entire street. Oh no, Mom said. I thought she might start to cry again, but she just said, I guess that'll mean waiting even longer to move into our house. I sure hope not. I had just found out about guardian angels from my Aunt Nell, my grandfather Tom's sister. Aunt Nell told me that if you wanted something really important, you could ask your guardian angel, and as long as it wasn't a bad thing, you'd probably get it. I figured out that now was a good time to talk to my guardian angel. Before we get too far, here's what Tommy's thinking about the storm. Looks like a pretty fun day to him. And guess what? My guardian angel did come to the rescue. The rain stopped, the weather turned cold, and within a week, the mud on Fairmount Avenue had frozen in place. Cars could go up the street again, and everyone went back to work on the house. Finally, the inside stairs were built. I could go upstairs and look at the bedrooms. I could go up into the attic. I could go down to the basement to look at the furnace and see where Mom's laundry room would be. Everything was happening quickly now. Looks good, my dad told Buddy and me. The next time you come here, it'll be to move in right after New Year's Eve. All right, so that's where we're going to stop. That was chapter 6 and 7 that we read today. And I thought that I would share this response with you because I love hearing what you're thinking in class each day or in our session each day. So today we got a sense about how much Tomie was looking forward to moving in to 26 Fairmount Avenue. So what I want you to do, boys and girls, is I want you to think about something you were really looking forward to. And one of those somethings that you were looking forward to could have been a vacation. It could have been a new sibling, a new pet. It could have been maybe changing the paint on your wall in your bedroom. It could be anything that you were excited about. And I want you to clearly share what that was with us using details and even some of the emotions that you were feeling while you were waiting for this to happen. That response, you're going to, again, enter in the comment section below. All right? So I hope you had a great week of at-home learning. I hope you had a great time listening to our stories. I saw some pictures that parents shared of you listening, intently, and I loved it. It meant a lot to me. And I also hope that if you have some time, and Mom and Dad says it's okay, that you join our class share session at 11 o'clock today. All right? I look forward to seeing you. I miss you. I hope you are enjoying yourself while you're learning at home, and I hope you stay safe. And I will talk to you soon. Bye, boys and girls.